Trump mandates. Last night's speech was amazing. The Democrats didn't think so. All that and more with Joe Kovacs, Josh Turbo coming up. WND Live starts right now. Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome. Matt Edwards here, WND Live. We are on the air. It is, I don't know what time. It's 3 o'clock in the east, 12 in the west, and somewhere in the middle. It is great to be with you. Last night, folks, last night was absolutely incredible. We've got a ton of clips lined up for you. We want to hear your comments. We want to know that you are engaged with us today. We can't wait to see what your reaction was to last night. Let's bring in Josh and Joe here. Gentlemen, good to see you.
Hello.
Yes, Matt. Great to be back. Good to see Joe.
Yes.
Day after the speech, the mandate speech.
I mean, honestly though, when I sat down to watch it, you guys, tell me what you think. When I sat down to watch this, I thought, well, it's just about a month and a half ago we watched the inauguration speech, which is supposed to be, the big mandate speech. Here's my plans for the next term. But I mean, all of the sudden, it felt like we were watching a rally speech, and the Democrats had to sit, 250 Democrats had to sit through a Trump rally speech. It was incredible. Joe, what's your big takeaway from last night?
This is the definition of must-see TV. We all know that Donald Trump has been on television before he was ever a politician, but I mean, he was on The Apprentice, of course, when he was "You're fired" to all these people. But last night was just a tremendous schooling in how to relate to the American people. He was serious at times. He was hilarious at times. The Democrats in the audience were acting like a bunch of clowns with their signs of resistance, saying false or save Medicaid or whatever messages they had. One of them got thrown out by the sergeant at arms after causing a ruckus. And it was everything you would never think would be in a political speech. Occasionally, these State of the Union addresses or joint addresses to Congress are the most boring events. If you ever suffer from insomnia, these are the things to watch. Yeah. But when Trump is at the helm, it is a complete interesting program where you don't know what's coming next. It's like a live sports event. What is coming next? So it was thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It was so good. Josh, we got the article up over at WND.com. Here it is right there. Watch as Dems, watch as Dems in Congress get blasted as demons or gremlins at Trump's speech. I mean, it was an all out assault on Democrats and their insane ideologies that they doubled down on over and over and over again, Josh.
Yeah, like Matt, I think about the speech was strange because Trump was absolutely like so entertaining, but he kept like doing this thing where he'd look over at the Democrats, like he kept doing it like, and he just give him a hard stare. JD was doing the same thing, but like then in an unfortunate moment every now and again, they'd cut to the Democrats. And it was never flattering. This is what they look like, Matt. Okay, this is what the Democrats look like whenever they'd cut over to them. They'd be like colored hair, really pasty looking, and really like comically writing on like a little board. I forget who was it. Rashida Tlaib had like a little whiteboard. She would write. Like, I disagree. It was, I think that one was like a delivery of a vision, and the other was like this pathetic, limp-wristed response that it was that part for me. I just kept laughing because half of the folks in the room were really having a great time, And I don't even
You mean
know how
America.
anyone could
America
even
was having
relate
a
to
great
the other folks. Yeah.
Yeah, America was having a great time. That's exactly right. Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a ton of clips to get to. We're going to go through them one by one here and get everybody's reaction. So settle in, folks. Hey, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, fantastic. We love having you there. But Josh, you gotta tell them where else they need to be, right?
Yeah. I mean, you guys, you got to go hit that Rumble follow button. That's what we really need you to do. Like, make a comment over there. I see some comments coming in now. Calcom, the gang, or I see a YouTube comment. But we love it when you go over to Rumble because they don't get mad at us for saying the truth like some of the other platforms. But yeah, and we already have quite a few comments coming in. We should just pop onto those real quick.
Yeah.
Trump, Vance, Musk, RFK, etc. Go America. Yeah, that's how it felt, right? Like, and then I think this is for the Rashida Tlaib, maybe. Yeah.
Well, it was surprising. It was surprising that at least at some point you saw a lot of empty seats on the Democrat side, and I was watching. The Evil Party. Yeah. Joe, I was watching. Before we get to this first clip here, I was watching. I forget whose broadcast, but they were saying that they don't think they've ever seen the Democrats be so. Like they didn't come to the aisle to greet Trump as he came in or left. Usually both sides of the aisle at least want to get a picture or try to get a handshake with the president as they come in. The Democrats, I mean, this was the coldest shoulder in State of the Union or a joint address to the Congress that anyone has ever seen in modern times. Would you agree with that?
Well, it was the cold shoulder. I think you're right about that because they still think this guy is Hitler. They haven't gotten
off
Hitler,
that. Dude.
And now he's, even if he's not Hitler, he's suddenly colluding with Russia again because he's giving the business to, or not giving the business to the head of Ukraine there, Zelensky. So they have to walk a fine line. Yeah, everybody usually wants to be seen with the president, patting him on the back, because the president, no matter who it is a national figure, international figure, and you want to be seen as a power player. All these people are hooked on power. You've heard of hooked on phonics, but these people are hooked on power, and they just want to be seen all the time. However, they can't have that and say, well, this is Hitler. Yeah, I'm with Mr. Hitler here or the Russian collusion guy. So they have to walk that fine line. So I think that's probably why you didn't see them palling around with the Trumpster so much.
Right. All right. Well, let's get to this first clip here. This is what the Democrats, this was some of their messaging before the speech, telling viewers how they should be watching it. Let's watch this.
Cultural Oh no! It's a cultural divide. I'm gonna get it on the floor.
You really about to do it?
40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music.
You really about to do it?
Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
They get on it like that.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like bro. Mustard on a beat, bro. Deep boat in the rap. He a freak though, man down. Call like Amber Lambs. Tell him breathe. Let them boys to the cross. They walk around.
It's painful.
What's up with these?
Joe, if they really do think that this is Hitler, I just want to say thank God when we were fighting the real Hitler, we looked nothing like that.
It seems like the left has just gone off the rails, like out of reality, out of this universe of sanity. And it's been, increasing over the years. And I mean, in just the last 4 years now, you have people who think it's perfectly fine to chop off, your body parts to claim that you're another gender. So we are at the culmination now, and they're still not getting rid of that business. We saw a vote this week in Congress where all the Democrats were totally in favor of dudes playing in women's sports. So the lunacy is continuing. It's going to continue. And, if they stick with the insanity, then they may never win another election because Americans have awakened to the madness, the insanity of the political left, and they're just tired of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's too many out there that still vote this way. So I think we're going to see these people permeating the halls of Congress for many years to come. That being said, let's get to the clip. I think this was probably President Trump's like biggest mic drop moment here. There was a few of them, but I think this one's going to go down in the annals of history here. Let's watch this.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
Look at that. I mean, he is such a showman. The timing, the delivery, I mean, it was absolutely spot on.
This is exactly what we need in a president is comedic value. But, the comedy is, of course, based on truth.
Yes.
We spent the last 4 years with the liar in chief. And I don't know who is a bigger liar, Joe Biden or his press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, who just went out day after day with the press briefings and just lying to people's face. The reporters in the White House press corps knew they were being lied to. Some of them went along with it, but some of them didn't. But we finally have a guy that tells the truth, and the truth can be funny. We needed a new president. That was the best line of the night, because now we have a real president.
Right. And he's not afraid to call it like he sees it. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a president show up to this type of joint address to a Congress and lay in hard to the Democrats, right, Josh? I mean, it was brutal when he told them early in the speech that here's all the things I'm going to say, and you're not going to clap for any of it. Watch this.
And once again, I look at the Democrats in front. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy, or to make them stand, or smile, or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest
Vance's
economy
reaction
in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
It's so true, right? I mean, right, Josh? It shouldn't be this way, but they brought it upon themselves. And I, for one, I mean, I'm trying to find my Christian nature here and just be like, oh, we probably should have been a little bit more this, a little bit more that. But you know what? At some point, daddy's in the room and he's got to scold the children.
Joe kind of brought this up. The way I'm starting to think about this, Matt, is like Trump lays out a vision that it takes us away from the insanity. I mean, you could say since the Obama years, but like just the stuff that really got too crazy, like the men winning or setting records in women's sports, the transing, this stuff got so weird that Trump's saying like, okay, no more. But half of the room has a completely different worldview. This idea that like people are watching a different movie of reality than the folks sitting right next to them, and they seem to only double down. And so that just means we're like living in two different realities. I like to think of it as like, I'm getting on an airplane and a bunch of folks look terrified and still wearing masks. We're living in two different realities, they and I, and that's kind of what it felt like. I just, thank goodness there's more people that agree with the way Trump is presenting this worldview than the other side.
Yeah, that's a great point. Unfortunately, though, when those people on the other side keep doubling down, it means danger. It means danger for our families and for our kids. And this is what brought Trump to say what he said about the woke ideology. Let's watch this.
Administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January, Little John and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Man, Joe, can you imagine sending your children to school 30, 25 years ago, even maybe 10 years ago, and having to worry whether or not they're going to be coming home a different gender?
It is absolutely frightening and sick that we have come to this point. I mean, there is such a thing as right and wrong and common sense. And Trump is the common sense president as we enter the golden age here. But no parent wants to even entertain the idea that when they send their kids off on the school bus every day, that they're being poisoned in their mind to become another gender. I mean, first of all, it's one thing for adults to do it, and there's a certain sickness there, but to take little innocent children and twist their minds with this perversion, it is absolutely satanic. It is against all things that are correct. You know, just to get biblical here for a moment, Jesus said there are two ways to live, the ways of life and the ways of death. Therefore, choose life. And everything that we do is a life and death decision if we're going to follow the correct way or the opposite way. And as Matt said before, or Josh said before, it's like we're living in two different movies, two different realities. I call it opposite world that these other people, the Democrats, the leftists are living in, because it is the opposite of everything that is correct. And when you follow the right way, the God way, if you want to put it that way, then you're going to have success. And the Democrats are finding out that there's nothing but misery and failure when you follow the opposite way. So it's as simple as that.
Yeah. Look, here's a list. Donald Trump Jr. shared this, I think, on his Instagram, and then somebody else tweeted it. But here it is, things that Democrat lawmakers couldn't stand up to honor. And this is not a comprehensive list, but here's the list. They wouldn't stand up for tax cuts, the border being closed, foster children finding hope and success, children murdered by illegal immigrants, police officers dying in the line of duty, U.S. steelworkers, a kid with brain cancer becoming an honorary Secret Service member. We'll get into that. A teen getting into West Point, advancing military and defense, the capture of a terrorist who murdered 13 Americans, which was announced last night. Peace between Ukraine and Russia, bringing an American hostage home from Russia, and the man who died because of the Butler at the Butler rally, Corey Compatore. I mean, these are things that they just sat on their hands all night for and didn't mention anything. I mean, the only time I saw something was when Ukraine was mentioned, and he made this flippant remark about maybe we should just keep sending money and keep the war going, and they started clapping for that. But
these people are just so filled with rage and their Trump derangement syndrome that they can't stomach to applaud for anything. And there was a lot of positive things on that list there that you just went down, and to just have these looks of sheer disgust when any one of them was mentioned, or the heroes in the audience, or the children being honored by the president, that they looked absolutely miserable, like they just, I don't know, their dog died or something. But it was just this is who they are inside. There is a vicious, vile evil in them, and they can't applaud anything to do with President Trump. You know, if Jesus came back today and he were running things, this is the reaction he would get from that half of the world, because they just can't stomach what is correct. And that's, Donald Trump right now, love him or hate him, he is representing what is correct, what is common sense, the positive way, the way to prosperity. And that's what we want. And the Democrats are all about sickness and death. And this is what they deliver.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to actual sickness and actual death on the line. One of the most touching moments of the night was with this 13-year-old pediatric cancer survivor, DJ. Let's watch. Yeah, look at this. Here he is. Here he loves law enforcement. He wants to be in law enforcement, and he was dressed just like that last night at the speech. Let's watch this clip as Trump honors DJ.
You wanna know the craziest part? Because my mom bathes me and my brothers all together, and out of nowhere I locked up, and then my dad was calling my name, and I started going to the slow thing, and he said, "Stop playing with me," and I then I started to act. I ain't gonna lie, I started to act slow, and then as soon as he said that, we were speeding all the way, running lights, going to the hospital, and then next thing you know, I was seizing on the table. They said, "No, we're gonna have to go in his brain tonight." Ever since then, I had 13 brain surgeries, and that's how many times my personality has changed. And that's something that you don't hear from a terminally ill child. They had 5 months to live. I'm gonna keep on going until my gas tanks run out. And that's when God calls you home. You never know when God's gonna call you home. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my dad. And I know he's pretty proud of me, and I'm pretty proud of him too. And I'd like to thank President Trump, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today.
Wow. Yeah, that was posted on the White House's social media last night. Very, very powerful stuff. I can't get over how he was then treated by Rachel Maddow and some of the folks on the left. We'll watch some of these clips, but before we set that up, I have to say, like, in another world, in a world that we actually remember, at least I remember, Joe, I know you'd remember too. That kid would be on Johnny Carson's show tonight. I mean, that kid would be on every Today Show, the morning after show. I mean, he'd be making the rounds, and everybody would be falling in love with DJ.
Yeah, he would be a national hero.
Yeah.
He would be talked about nonstop, and there'd be commercials with him, and corporate sponsors would get him deals to sell soda or whatever, or maybe health food. But I mean, just to go through all these brain surgeries, and I didn't realize this, where he said, your personality changes every time you have a brain surgery, and he's had 13 of them, and he's only 13 years old. It's astonishing. And to have these people treat him like a pariah, it just goes to show they're not interested in life. They're not interested in positivity. They're not inspired by the good things that we can all rally around as not only Americans, but human beings. You don't even have to be an American to love this child, just a human being having to go through all that. Again, he's a hero, and I was just thrilled. Did you see the look on his face when Trump made him a member of the Secret Service? It was so stunning and so inspiring to see that positivity.
Yeah. Well, and then of course, in case folks haven't seen it, here's how Rachel Maddow treated the moment.
For the record, and this is disgusting, the president made a spectacle out of praising a young man who thus far survived pediatric cancer, as if the president had something to do with that. This was in the midst of him praising Doge. The Doge cuts, among other things, have cut off funding for ongoing research into pediatric cancer.
I mean, what's this? That's so bizarre. So do we know the full story behind? Because the kid said it himself. Without President Trump, he wouldn't be here. Josh, I'm sorry. Do we know the full story behind the connection between Trump and DJ here?
No, Matt, I do not. I remember that I've heard that Trump heard his story, and then this is during the campaign, and then that helped to get him the attention that actually got him more treatment. That's what I've heard.
Okay.
I don't know if that's completely accurate. But you know, he became kind of like, you know, Trump loves to show these stories, and so seeing DJ at the speech last night, it was familiar to some folks that like, oh yeah, this young man. But then Trump took it to the next level with probably creating one of the best moments in the kid's life. And all Maddow and this other clip we have, all they can do is spin it. And sometimes, you know, in certain scenarios like this, you know, people just got to tell them like, hey, just say it's a good thing. Just go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
You can just say it. Okay. It's nothing. It's great, but they can't do it, Matt.
No,
they're watching a different movie, you know?
Yeah. And here's proof. Watch this clip from MSNBC.
The lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ, and I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives and the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
Gosh, that's just dark. Like that's a really gross take.
You hear the word seditious conspiracy, and they're bringing up the riot at the Capitol, and again, it was a peaceful rally there until there were fireworks of law enforcement agents or people acting on behalf of law enforcement that started firing into the crowd. But anyway, again, the media doesn't get it. They are on the side of the wrongdoers. It's no wonder their ratings are in the tank. I mean, if you compare, for instance, Fox News, let's just say, to all the other media combined in the news world, I think they have higher ratings than everybody combined by far, because no one believes the lunacy of the left. They know that Rachel Maddow is not a teller of truth. They know the folks on CNN are not tellers of truth. And, some of the management is starting to wake up to that. We saw, schedules being changed. Joy Reid is now off MSNBC. We saw Jim Acosta leave CNN, and he's now broadcasting from his apartment, wherever that might be. But they don't get it. They just... Their minds are in this alternative universe, opposite world as I call it, and they've bought into it hook, line, and sinker. They've drunk the Kool-Aid, and all they can do is put down anything to do with Donald Trump. Now, let's just say there were a different president in office right now who happened to be a Democrat and did all these things that Trump has been doing. They would be cheerleading, saying, what a fantastic record that we have going here. And it's only been a month into office. Imagine what's going to happen over the next 4 years of this guy in charge. But because he's Republican, because he stands for conservative, godly values, they have to, by definition, by default, vomit on him verbally. Simple as that.
Yeah, you guys, I'm convinced at this point that the only people that their ratings mean that we take take their ratings, cut them in half. Half of them are people who actually want to watch it, and the other half are folks like us who have to watch it, like hate watch it,
because looking for the drive-by moment. Yeah.
I don't know who's. I mean, if it wasn't for folks like this show, or for us like this show, I don't know if people would know what they'd be saying over there. I mean, they are just so disconnected. They are so disconnected from the real common person on the ground in all of our towns and cities across this country. They are so out of touch that I look at them and I just think that, like, it's just sad at this point. It's just so sad that these people are living this miserable life. And I just hope they find Jesus. That's all I got to say.
That's actually probably that's the one thing they really need, Matt, is because They're so deceived now. It's like pulling them back from the void seems to be like maybe not possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, and because the only thing they applauded was like we mentioned was keep on fighting in Ukraine. Here, let's watch the moment from the speech.
No end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense, with no security, with no anything.
The wheels are turning in his head. Here's a gift.
Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah. You would say Pocahontas says yes. $2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that.
Miserable. They're just miserable.
Yeah. And you know what he does when he calls someone out like that? He immediately elevates them to be the leader, like almost like the de facto leader now. Like that is who is running the Democrats. Because it can't be Schumer or Pelosi. They're getting old and all this stuff. I mean, she's no spring chicken herself, but like he's almost like I want to pin it all on her now. And so everybody's gonna, oh, what did you think? I'm sure she's making the rounds on all these channels. He keeps calling you this name and she's and so she'll be elevated to this point, and she's the biggest doofus of them all, if there is one.
Perfectly said, Matt. Oh, Joe, we're muted. You're muted, Joe. Sorry. Go, Joe.
Sorry about that. I was going to say she kept clapping for herself. Once she got the mention from the president, she had to own that Pocahontas comment and just, continue clapping and say, yay for me. I got mentioned by the president here. And yes, I'm going to keep clapping for more aid for Ukraine, or to keep the war going on, because Trump here, by the way, is trying to do peace. And I thought the Democrats were supposed to be, the peaceniks, but apparently they don't want peace. So it's just, again, opposite world. Trump is trying to get a deal with the Russians and the Ukrainians to get everybody to the table and stop this war, because so many people are dying, just thousands are dying. So apparently the Democrats are not interested in the peace.
And that's why when we see a poll like this, we understand exactly where everybody stands. Like, look at this. This is a CBS YouGov poll after the speech last night. 76% approval of Trump's speech. I mean,
that's pretty massive. Yeah,
it's huge. It's huge. I mean, if you're going to take that and compare it to the vote tally. I mean, you would say like, oh, so he won over half of the people who didn't vote for him. I mean, that's a pretty significant margin right there. I don't know how scientific that poll is, but that's the one everybody's touting around. So we'll do the same.
And it's CBS, which is no bastion of conservatism. Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you watch the speech, just pretend to be a neutral observer. But what was objectionable? What could you not really agree with in the speech? That, he says we're going to have an incredible future like we've never had before. And he's talking about just amazing goals of putting a man on Mars.
Bring down inflation, lower taxes. What's to hate?
Exactly. We all want that. I mean, do we want higher taxes? Do we want inflation to continue? No, we all want to live and have, some smiling moments in our lives here. We don't want to wake up every day just dreading the fact, how am I going to make it through this day? How am I going to pay the bills? And Trump is offering solutions to that, to lower energy costs, to lower food costs. And yet I'm actually surprised at 26% that it was that high disapproved of what he said, because there was nothing to really object to.
Well, again, it's a bizarre world we're living in.
Yeah.
But speaking of paying bills, Joe, if folks out there, if you want to help WND pay some bills and you can get a tax write-off, this is the best way to do it. Have you ever paid someone's bill and gotten a tax write-off for it? No, all jokes aside, folks, this is a great way to support what you're watching here, what you're reading over at WorldNetDaily.com, and all of the great material. Head over to the WND News Center by clicking the link in the description or scanning that QR code. You can make a one-time tax-deductible donation. It is a 501c3 nonprofit. And so you can help support this program. You can help support all the great work that Joe does at WND.com and the entire WorldNetDaily team with all of the great material that goes out there with a single donation or sign up to do a monthly donation. We know times are hard and times are limited. So if you do have the fund, or funds are limited, but if you do have the funds to contribute, we would certainly do appreciate it. It keeps all of the engines rolling, and it's really great. So scan that QR code or hit the link in the description to support WorldNetDaily. Thank you so much. All right. Let's jump into some of the peripheries as we settle in with some of the stuff around the web. Stephen A. Smith is a popular sports commentator over on. Is he still at ESPN or did he jump ship to Fox?
No, he's still there.
Still at ESPN. Yeah. Here's his take on this whole idea that Trump doesn't have a mandate.
For 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And he's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. We can sit up there and play around all we want to. In 2020, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the electoral college vote. A matter of fact, the Republicans hadn't won the popular vote, if I remember correctly, since 2004. But they did this year. So 20 years after they last won the popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it all, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
Well, it's a different definition of a mandate, I guess.
But the problem is that if you're the Democratic Party and you lost 49.8% to 48.3%, and you're looking at that 1.5% dip, that's an excuse for you to say, what we did really wasn't that bad.
Some people didn't
we should continue to do that. Don't continue to do it. Find a new strategy.
He mocks her to her face. He's literally saying, this is what you guys are doing. I mean, it was such a great takedown. I'm not the biggest fan of Stephen A. Smith, but I do respect that he does generally toe that truth line and wants to take that stance. But he's spot on there, guys.
And, when she said it depends what the definition of mandate is, it sounds like Bill Clinton. It depends what the definition of is. So they just play with words and semantics. And, yes, there was a huge shift to the Republican side this time. And again, you have even Democrats come over. There's Democrats in the administration now, the Tulsi Gabbards and the RFK Juniors. These are Democrats, folks, who are now Republicans. They've either switched parties or they are at least temporarily working for the Trumpster. But Americans have awakened to the lunacy that's out there, and they just want normal again.
Yep. Josh, speaking of Democrats, you're trolling over there on TikTok probably, right? Looking for some good stuff.
No, Matt, I'm not on TikTok, but I do love a good clip like this one.
I voted for Democrats my whole life. They never did anything they promised. They would come to the black church and sing some Negro spirituals with us and then disappear, peer. Once they got our vote, they never did anything they promised. I vote for a Republican once in my life, and this dude done did everything he promised on steroids. He ain't even been in office 2 months, and everything I voted for, I'm getting. It's amazing. Do he sleep? Like this dude, if he sleeps, he wake up on a mission to do what Nakia voted for. He said, Nakia want me to fix that border? I'm on it. Nakia want to make sure them tax dollars is being spent for Americans more than anybody else? I'm on it. Like, this dude wakes up. I feel like with me in mind, you know what I'm saying? I feel like he be thinking about me. It's like being at the casino. You put in that Democrat coin, you put it in and you pull the thing and no, you gonna win. You gonna win. You put in another Democrat coin and you pull the thing and no, you didn't win. You put in that Republican coin. I put in a Republican coin for the first time. Pulled the ding, 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 ding. I freaking won. Wow. So you know what that tells me? That tells me to never vote for Democrats again in life. Ever. Because you're not going to win with them. I voted for a Republican once. And hit the jackpot, honey.
Boy, she's great. I love that. That was awesome.
Yeah,
she's discovered reality. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, the whole Democrat thing is a fantasy world of, oh, they promise you all this success and life and prosperity, and they bring you a bunch of squat. And it's, you know, she reminds me of someone I saw on Fox News earlier today who was a Democrat his whole life. And he voted Republican, and he said, I don't know that, or he said, I will not ever go back to the Democrat Party. It's just that simple because it's, you know, light versus dark, good versus evil, that kind of thing. It's so obvious once you get sane adults in charge rather than petulant children running the show, how good things can be.
Yeah, yeah. But of course, you know, if the Democrats can't stop Trump and Doge and everything, you know, that's going on, then you got to look somewhere else. And apparently the Supreme Court wants to fill that void. This district judge is telling Trump that he can't cancel all this money being paid out through USAID. And just this morning, Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts joined the liberal side of the court. I mean, we have a 6-3 majority. So it's not just one swing vote. It took two of the conservatives to jump ship and stop this or help this judge who's stopping Trump. Joe, what's going on here with this with Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts? Because Alito and along with Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, they issued a scorching dissent on this. So they're clearly divided. What gives Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts cause to do this?
3 words. I don't know. But Alito says, I am stunned. That was his reaction that he put out there, that completely stunned by the fact that this district judge has the power to make this happen, to override what the commander-in-chief of the United States is doing in sending federal aid overseas. So who knows what's going on? There could be all kinds of speculation. Has somebody been paid off or somebody being blackmailed? I don't know. I'm just, raising possibilities here. But, I think it was John Roberts who was the key person in that whole Obamacare thing, where he pulled something out of his hindsight saying, oh, well, it's a tax, and it changed the whole dynamic of the thing. So therefore Obamacare can be legal. And he may have been involved in the decision to make gay marriage legal as well. Right. It's like these people that you don't expect to take the liberal side, all of a sudden they go way left. And here is just, it's stunning because, the Democrats don't have a lot going for them right now, but they've been looking to the courts because they've been stacking the courts for years with all these left-leaning judges. So maybe they're seeing a big payoff right now. But to see Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts vote against the president's stoppage of the funds going overseas is quite stunning. I'm as stunned as Justice Alito is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
pretty
Matt,
sad
I
to
had
watch.
heard that, and I don't know that this is completely accurate, but it was weird for Amy Comey Barrett to make this call. So I had read that, and Joe, I don't know if this is factual, but that her argument was that it was a payment for work already done. And so, they're kind of citing that, oh, well, even though we want to pull it back, the work was done. So therefore the people have to be paid for it. So, and then of course, but we do know that Alito and Gorsuch were like, no, that's just not the case. And they were more upset that the courts would stop the president from doing his job in their argument, right? That's the I am stunned section. But so, yeah, I want to know what's going on. I don't want to, Comey Barrett always gets a lot of attention for her mid-take.
But it's her job. If she wants to be a judge in a suit that's brought by the unpaid employee, then she can go do that. But this, your point that you were making there on Alito's argument was like, this was about the court's role in stopping or not stopping this. Like, you can't do that. You can't just take the position of somebody who you think should be paid for work done.
Yeah.
I mean, let that be its own case. This was about the principle of, can judges just shut down what, and no, it's enough is enough. I mean, it's like that Hawaii judge during Trump's first term. I mean, it's the same thing over and over again, where it's like, it's
don't be activists. Yeah. They're being activist we don't want that.
We don't want
activist judges.
All right. Well, it was announced last night during the speech, after the whole, Zelensky debacle in the Oval Office, that master class in how to beat down a foolish leader, world leader. It seems as Zelensky has changed his tune a little bit. He posted this on X, on his own account here, that basically just saying, hey, look, I would like to reiterate our commitment to peace, which is the one thing that Trump said as he left. If he wants to talk peace, he can come back and talk. He said, none of us wants an endless war. He says they're ready to work fast to end the war. And the first stages could be the release of prisoners, a ban on missiles, and so forth. He said his meeting in Washington on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be, and it was regrettable that it happened. We would like a future cooperation and communication to be constructive. And Ukraine is ready to sign the agreement on the minerals, on those rare earth minerals that are in Ukraine that they were, during that press conference or that meeting, that was all Trump could talk about. We're excited to sign this deal and get our folks in there to harvest the rare earth minerals, or as Trump called them, raw earth. I don't know what raw earth was, but he said raw earth time. Yeah, raw earth. So it seems like Zelensky's changing his tune, and we might have a deal here pretty quickly on this, which would then put, and I don't know how I feel about this at the moment, but that would put American interests directly involved in Ukraine. And so that gives us that precept to say, oh, we're over there because we have American interests, right, Joe? Isn't that usually how we're supposed to defend us being involved in foreign countries? We have
when you have a Republican administration there, if it were Democrats, they would just abandon the Americans, forthwith without any protection. But when, Republicans are serious about protecting Americans. But, this was the deal that was supposed to happen last week. And he was going to sign it. They had lunch there and, the ceremonial desks all ready to sign this before Zelensky got into the argument with Trump, but it was, he met with some Democrats before that meeting and they got into his head. And I think the Democrats were the ones that derailed this so that they could have a talking point against President Trump. And now, they're going back to the old, oh, well, Trump is on the side of Vladimir Putin. He's colluding with Russia. Where have we heard this before? They're out of ideas. They have nothing. And they're just trying to stop Trump or have a talking point when they get on the evening news, because they realize the country is on the fast track to success and prosperity, and they can't have that. They're all about misery. They want to keep people in misery and to have people vote for them because of the misery. So it's just this is nothing new. And again, it was the deal that was supposed to happen. Trump is the master of the art of the deal, as you know. So this is going to happen.
Yeah, well, this is an ever-evolving story. So last night, let's just play the clip last night. Trump read the letter that Zelensky apparently sent him regarding the deal. So let's listen to that for a little bit.
Important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago.
All right, so that was last night. We all remember that, right? Well, Josh, this morning or breaking, was it this morning? Zelensky looks like he's reversed his decision. Look at this tweet from Megatron Ron. He's got the video.
Нам відомо, що росіяни не змінили своїх позицій та вимог щодо України. Вони будуть вимагати скорочення нашої армії, будуть хотіти юридичну відмову від наших територій, також суттєвої політичної деформації України з послабленням української Конституції. І скажу, що насправді, поки ми всі в Україні будемо стояти разом і міцно, поки ми тут, ні в кого це не вийде. Мир буде достойним. Слава Україні!
So basically announcing that he will not negotiate with Russia.
Yeah, so he's in like this. He's in this. I don't think that the deal is off at all. I think he's doing the thing that's called speaking out of both sides of your mouth, right? So he's like, in his letter to Trump, it's kind of funny too, because it's like, we're so thankful, because he's accused by JD of not saying, you haven't said thank you, right? And he mentions the javelins, which I thought was kind of funny, because Trump mentions Obama sent blankets and I sent you javelins. Yeah. So like he's playing a game right now, which is not. I mean, it's a really dumb move to do that with Trump, because Trump's going to see through that easily. And I mean, I've heard this commentary. I think it's worth repeating. Zelensky is in kind of a lose-lose position, because to let peace come in, it calls into question what they were doing all this time to lose up to maybe 500,000 Ukrainians to this effort that he was saying we're going to win. Now he can't deliver a win. He can only deliver a deal. But the way he's doing this, I feel like it's a tactic, Matt, to keep himself in the deal. But people say, and I agree, there's no future of Zelensky in the deal, because
he can't be involved.
There's no way, because he has to fall on the sword of, oh guys, I'm sorry, I didn't want us to kill our male population under 40, but we did, because I promised you we could win. We can't win now. He's got to say something like that, right?
Right.
Remember, like, they had to keep fighting Russia because Russia is the ultimate evil. So now they're going to make peace with the ultimate evil? No. What I would expect is in this really bizarre ping pong match is a slap coming from Trump again, and every time you do this, he loses. Zelensky loses position.
Yeah.
And I felt like that he had to, like, that message was to Ukraine, because he can't really explain himself to Ukraine.
Well,
right?
That's why it was in Ukrainian and not English. I mean, the
right.
guy speaks English.
He's got to say, guys, don't worry. The Russians, they're still evil.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, we'll keep watching this, always keeping tabs on it. So follow us on X and go to worldnetdaily.com to follow Joe and all the good stories that are coming over there. Joe, where can people follow you and keep tabs?
Besides worldnetdaily.com, where most of our news stories are posted throughout the day, I do have an X page, and that's Joe Kovacs News is my handle, at Joe Kovacs News. And if you're looking for some awesome biblical inspiration, I do have a Bible-related website, and that's reachinggodspeed.com, reachinggodspeed.com.
Yes,
Awesome.
highly encourage it over there. Yeah, Josh, how do you want to let the people know? What do you want to
Guys, I'm just over at Josh_Turnbow. I'm tweeting about different stuff over there, Xing, posting, whatever you want to call it. And I'd love you to go over there, check out what I'm talking about, give me a like and a follow or anything like that. And of course, most importantly, we love that you guys are watching the show. And let's see, Crystal, Calcom, you guys are so awesome commenting. Doris, you commented on the show today. Estelle, of course. Guys, we love it when you interact with the show and you put in the comments, and we'll try to get to them and try to give you a shout out. And if you do love the show, of course, we ask that you go over, follow, and like it wherever you're seeing it. That really helps the show, and it lets us know that it's not just my mom watching, but it's Matt's mom and Joe's mom too.
Hey, we're popular with moms. We are popular with moms.
we are. But otherwise, great show today, guys, and man, thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Good to see you as always, gentlemen. Take care, folks out there, and be sure to follow all of what Josh just said. But importantly, be sure you come back when we hit the airwaves once again. Thank you so much for watching us. We'll see you next time.